Hey waxing people, welcome back to Expert Skin. Today we're going to be doing a simple male eyebrow wax. So let's get started and talk about what you're going to need. A couple of waxing sticks and waxing strips, some cotton, tweezers, and of course your comb and your scissors as well. So let's get started. I always like to assess the male eyebrow. I like to assess any eyebrows that I'm waxing and just take a look at them. He is not very hairy. He does not have big, thick, bushy eyebrows like you'll see on some male clients. He just needed a cleanup eyebrow, which is mostly what you're going to do in your treatment room anyways with most clients, because they've almost always had an eyebrow wax done somewhere else in the past. Before they've gotten to your room, to your treatment room. So you're always going to look at the eyebrow and assess what you want to take off. And of course, ask the client what they're looking for. I've done all of that. And now we're going to begin waxing. I am going to take off very little hair. And I always like to remind everybody, don't be afraid of a quick eyebrow wax, because on a client like this gentleman, he did not have a lot of hair. He was not extremely hairy in the center of the eyebrow. He wasn't hairy in between his eyebrow and his hairline. So he didn't have a lot to do. He did have a little bit of trimming to do because they were a little on the long side. So you'll see me trim here more than anything else. And always you want to brush the hairs up and down and trim just the tips of them. You don't want to cut the hairs short because then they won't lay down nicely. The reason why we brush them up and down just to snip the tips, what I like to say, it makes it so the eyebrow still lays down perfectly and you don't get any short spiky eyebrows, which tends to be the case here, the case with a lot of eyebrow waxes. I always like to wipe the eyebrow with a cotton ball and witch hazel. It helps kind of treat the skin with like an antiseptic, and it helps to soothe the skin after it being irritated. I tweeze him very little. There were only a couple hairs that really needed to be removed to make his shape nice. But of course, most men do not want eyebrows that are going to look like they have been severely groomed or severely manicured. You know, they want to usually still look like they've had nothing done to their eyebrows, except for that little bit of trimming, and they just kind of look neat and polished, you know. So keep that in mind when you're doing a male client. And always remember that less is more. So if you want to do a little bit on the eyebrows, great, and then come back and do more after you've shown them their eyebrows in the mirror. Here I am applying my secret weapon of hydrocortisone cream. Hydrocortisone cream after a wax really helps with irritation and cleaning any of that up so they don't get a lot of redness afterwards. So let's move on to the other eyebrow. And the same thing here, I'm going to kind of assess what I'm going to do with it. And I'm going to wax just a little bit. Just the underside. I think he had a slight bit of hair on the top, but it was, I didn't really need to wax a whole lot there. And he actually had a little bit of hair on the center of the eyebrow on this side. And remember, the other side, I only had to like tweeze a couple of them, but this side actually had a few hairs on the center of the brow. And that's not uncommon because everyone's eyebrow grows so differently. We're going to wax and remove those couple of strips of hair and then come in for a fine tuning with the tweezers. And of course, trim with the scissors as well. But yeah, I don't have to do very much on a lot of male eyebrows. They are not looking to be arched. they're not looking for a severely thin eyebrow. So I'm super conservative with the waxing portion, because remember, if you put too much wax on, it can spread into other areas of hair. And if it happens to do that and you're doing a male eyebrow and they don't want all that hair removed, don't use the strip. Get a cotton ball with baby oil on it and press it to the area where the wax went into the hairs that you don't want to remove, and the wax will peel right off, and it won't remove the hairs. It'll just peel right off with the cotton ball. And because a lot of times, sometimes they'll get too much wax on and people will try to remove it with the strip, and that means you're going to take off all that excess hair. You don't have to do that. If you happen to get wax in a portion of hair that you don't want to remove, just grab some baby oil and a cotton ball, and that wax will come right out nicely without removing any excessive hair. So here I am just fine tuning the eyebrow, and of course using my cotton ball with witch hazel. And I already did, I think I'm doing some trimming now. Brush them up and just snip the tips of them. Remember, we just want to use the snip the tips, that way they continue to lay down nicely. There's nothing worse than long, unruly eyebrows. Sometimes I'll see men in the grocery store or the market or some places, and I just want to trim their eyebrows. Drives me crazy. But his eyebrows came out really nice. Like I said before, he is not very hairy. There wasn't very much to do on him. And he was a misleading client because he does have a lot of body hair when it comes to like back and chest. But his eyebrows, not very hairy. So sometimes you'll get a client that will fool you in that way. Now let's see a before, or like an after, and look how nice and cleaned up that is. All right, everybody, thank you all so much for watching. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe for more waxing tips.